So let's go to some of the data here. Among people who are employed, 39.4% of those work with a work limiting condition, reporting challenges that make it difficult to do their job at their highest level. Okay. That's very significant. Only 1.6% of workers without a work limiting condition reported that. So you can see that for people with these health limiting conditions, these people with disabilities oftentimes, that nearly 40% of them are saying they could do their job better if the job was tweaked in a certain way, if they were accommodated in a certain way, whereas only 2% report that people without disabilities report that they could do their job better, right? So it's like, that to me is compelling. So when 4 in 10 people are saying, I'm struggling to do this job as structured, the labor market gap then starts to make sense. And, oftentimes when I'm speaking with large organizations that Archangel Communications is trying to assist on this, whether it be corporations, public sector, doesn't matter, people without disabilities, it kind of dawns on them like, oh, what do you mean? All we need to do is be able to, why didn't you tell us? And then they're more than willing oftentimes to tweak the job or carve the job, or what can we do? Or can we buy you a piece of equipment or telework or, whatever the case may be. All right. So when people request changes and not drama, okay, because that's oftentimes what people without disabilities think it's going to be like, oh, it's going to be this major. Nobody wants drama. Just get it done. This is just part of the workday, providing these reasonable accommodations. We talk about the solutions all the time. Here's a data point that I think really highlights it. The BLS found that 32% of workers with a work limited condition had ever requested or made a change to do their job better. All right. Compare that to around 3.4% of workers without a work limiting condition. So these workers with these health limiting conditions, 32% of them are saying to their employer, hey, I've got a way, I'm proposing a way to make this better. Not only for me, but for the organization. Whereas only less than 4% of workers without that condition are speaking up. Again, just goes like, this is out of necessity. This is not like some wishful thinking or something. This is like, help me help you. And the most common changes were very practical. We're talking about things like changing the schedule of the work. That was like 48% of the time. Changing specific tasks, 36% of the time. Telework, around 18% of the time. New or modified equipment, around 17% of the time. Now, although the data doesn't say what most people need, in particular, so we can't break it down, each one of those situations is going to be specific. It does indicate that people are often seeking to improve their position to be able to make work better for them, but also then the company. This is a win-win when it's done well. It helps the employer, helps the employee. And employers often grant these reasonable accommodations requests. And here is a part that should lower the expectation among employers who think that this is going to be like a big deal or a cost. All right. Among wage and salary workers who requested changes, many requests were fully granted, and they have data on that. All right. Telework was granted around 70% of the time. Equipment was granted around 68% of the time. Work task modifications were granted around 66% of the time. So this is proof that these situations are curable. And like, if it was such a burden to the employers, they wouldn't be granting them at such high rates. So that's a good thing. That means that the reasonable accommodation process, the interactive process, is working and that people are being accommodated. And again, that's benefiting both the employer and the employee. So what's a clear takeaway here? If you remember one thing, I would say that having flexibility, both on the employer side and the employee side, getting into that interactive process to reach that reasonable accommodation, whether it's schedule flexibility, task design, tools and equipment, the expectations. This is one of the brilliant things about the ADA is that it's merit-based, is that you must be able to do the essential functions of the job, the essential job duties. Okay, so that's really one of the biggest barriers, is convincing the employer that, Look, we're not asking you to just invent a job here. No, we're asking you to just tweak it, just craft it, just carve it, whatever you want to call it, but just adjust it in a way that makes it work for your worker who you have time and energy and resources invested in. You don't want to let that person walk out the door. No, it's much easier to just accommodate that person. Again, that works better for the employer, and it certainly works better for the employee.